Coming to you, bit of a treat for you tonight. Hey, let's have the chat here. The chat's not working. No internet. No internet. It says I'm live. Looks like I have internet here. Well, okay, let's just press on. I've got some guests that I want to interview. And you may remember that I have mentioned these people. I met them when I was down at Kelly's, Sean and Amy Kelly's place down in Texas. And I noticed that there was a group of people that always kind of congregated during mealtime. And my son was one of them. And so I said to him, what's going on here? How do you know these people? And he says, oh, they're all nomads. Oh, okay. Joe lived in his van for a couple of years. Him and Chris traveled around the country and got to be nomads, you know. So this group, when they met each other, they kind of came together. And so I spent 3 days with them in our Anyone Can Farm on the road homestead hog harvesting class down there in Texas, and got to know them pretty good. And in their travels, they decided they wanted to come up here to Michigan. And so they are staying at the campground next door. And they were here for the tribe weekend. And they're over for dinner tonight. And I just said, hey, would you mind doing a quick interview? And so we could find out who they are. So I'm going to have to get Jill in here to see if she can straighten out this chat. Because I'd like to see if you guys have any questions for them that they can ask. But I've got a couple questions for them, and then we'll just see where it goes. But it's a real interesting situation to have people that, live on the road by choice, very intentional people. And I've gotten to know them a little bit better in the last couple days, and I think it's going to be a fun interview. All right. Well, I'll take this seat, if that's all right.
Sounds good.
That'll work.
There's a problem with our chat. And hey, Jill. Maybe Jill can come in and get that.
Want to go holler at Jill? I don't know if she heard.
I can go holler at Jill.
Yeah.
Oh, she's running.
There's something wrong with our chat. It says no internet, and there's a picture of a dinosaur. So I guess we should know what that means, but. All right, we're on then.
Okay.
Well, let me do a quick introduction. This is Amy and Mike Bacher. They originate out of Texas, and as I've just informed you, I met them when we were down in Texas last January. And so if you don't mind, if I could start off by just asking you to tell us who you are and how you got here.
Sure. So you want me to go first? I'll go first. No, you go first. You're much better at this.
Ladies first, right?
We are a family of 6. We have 4 children, ages ranging from 4 to 13. We are currently full-time RVers. We have been on the road for 2 years. We've hit 26 states. Michigan is our 26th. And we are friends with the Kellys that hosted the hog harvest class in January.
Yep.
And Mike attended because we wanted to support the Kellys, and it sounded fascinating. Really bonded with Mark, and Mark said, you should come up to the farm. We said, sounds good.
Do that. Yeah.
Michigan in the summer. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I met Mark down at the Kelly's farm, and we did a hog harvest class, and it was, it was life-changing, really.
Really?
Yeah, it really was.
Oh.
I don't think I've had a chance to talk to you in depth about that, but
No.
it really was. It was life-changing for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'd like to hear more about
yeah,
that when you
for sure.
finish telling us who you are. Like, and you, okay, so people will want to know.
Yes, he works.
I do
So
work.
you work.
Yeah.
So you work out of the RV.
I do. I work full-time out of the rig, and Amy does the majority of the homeschooling. When I say majority, I mean pretty much all of it. I'll do field trip days if we go to a national park or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I work from the rig. We have an internet connection, so anywhere we can get internet, we'll work from there. So.
And I did see that. I envisioned like an office, but it's like a stool on the end of their bed.
It is,
you know, with monitor. That's it. So
Hey,
Yeah,
he has a chair to himself, and he has
I do.
dedicated space now.
Yeah,
a whole chair to each
our
side.
last rig, it was
He was
a
wedged
fold up
between-
camp chair, folded up between the bed and the wall, and it was typing like this. So
And you're there for 8 hours a day.
oh, I get up and move around, but yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's tight.
Well, now you have room.
I do have room. Yeah, and sometimes I'll go work outside. But if I'm
Okay.
getting a good signal, I'll go sit in a chair outside and bring my laptop out and work out there. I'm not on camera all day. Like occasionally I'll have to be, but very rarely.
Okay.
I'm on video calls and conferences, so I can go and just take a call.
All right. So sometimes people wind up living in their cars and under the bridge and stuff like that. But you did this
On purpose.
on purpose. There was an intentional move. Like you had a house that you were living in and both had jobs and stuff. I really don't know why you did it. I respect it, but and I want to do it too. You know, I caught the fever a little bit too. I want to nomad a little bit. But could you tell us why you did it and how you got to the place where you could convince a woman to do it with you?
Actually, she was the one who convinced me, I think.
We were on a family at a family reunion in Colorado, gosh, 4 years ago at this point. And driving up there, we just saw a ton of RVs, and then we were enjoying the dichotomy of Texas to Colorado. I'm like, man, wouldn't it be great if we could do this more often? And we just kind of really
She had a cooler
dug
in the
in from
back of the
there.
van, and we were roughing it for a little bit. We went up to my family has a ranch up in the mountains, and we stayed there and camped. Like
like if we could do this, I don't like camping. I like electricity and running water.
Yeah.
So we're just the adventure.
Yeah.
It's true. It's wanderlust. You either have this wanderlust, this desire to go see and adventure and explore.
Yeah.
And I mean, people ask, is homeschooling hard? And I'm like, it's the amount of exposure that our children have had to the wide variety of things in this country it's invaluable. It's just phenomenal, the things that they have seen from literally coast to coast in the last calendar year. Well, now from April, we literally went from the east coast of Florida to the far, far northwest coast of Washington. We have covered coast to coast. And I hadn't done that until I'm in my 40s. And our children have now seen, half the country, like in person, not just at the touristy stops, but really seeing the cities, the people, the beautiful ways that our country is made.
There's so much to see in the U.S. Like it's pretty cool.
I imagine like the small restaurants and
some small towns
and all the national parks and the state parks, and just we're official hikers now. The best way to get out and see a place is to hike it, guaranteed. Skip the touristy spots or go there, but make sure you get a hike in, because that is the best way. Honestly, like we don't feel like we've really seen an area until we've gone on a hike now.
So. Well, this is about the only thing that I'm liable to. This audience is liable to lose me to
don't blame us.
Nomadic life, at least part time. I think it'd be great. I would really love to do it just part time. All right. I want to ask you. Well, you brought up this subject. Like that was a life-changing event. Maybe we could save that for a minute, but I wanted to ask you about the statement that you made at the Homestead Hog Harvest. I remember I was sitting down and you came over and sat next to me and you said, I want to know how you do this. Something like that. It was something along those lines.
Yeah, I started asking about kids, but it led into like, how did you get to this place?
And if I knew that question was coming, I would probably have said, okay, well, let's break that down. Which part? Because I'm going through this for the first time myself, and I don't have a map or anything. I'm just plotting along a day at a time. And I think this is important for the audience because I saw this weekend. I think people think that others that are further into it had a rule book that they went by, or a mentorship or something like that. Me and Jill really didn't. We just kind of one decision at a time. But if you could break that down for me a little bit, and maybe I think it'd be helpful to the audience, because a lot of people have questions.
Do you mean breakdown?
Well, what were the things that you saw that you said, okay, how do we do that? How do we get there?
It was mainly surrounding, honestly, it was surrounding your kids and how incorporated they were in what you were doing.
Okay.
And they were just so helpful, and they were way more mature than your typical kids.
Even our children have commented, like, they act way more mature than any other kids that we know.
Yeah.
And that's very impressive and responsible.
Yeah. And one of the things that I wanted to know was, what can we do? What are some of the things that you've done that we could emulate to get our kids to that same place?
Yeah.
And one of the things that you said that struck me, and I've tried to incorporate it into our RV life, is they always have a job. They always have something to do, right? They always have a responsibility. So I've started incorporating them more in our setup and tear down, and just getting them more involved.
Like their crew.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they're not just along for the ride. This is, they're doing it. This is theirs as well. We have expectations of them. And that was impactful for me, seeing how you interacted with them, how they interacted with you. And it was just very genuine and honest. I could tell there wasn't a facade. There wasn't any subterfuge there. It was real. And you don't see that a lot. So I think
the honor and respect given to you and reciprocated back to them. And I mean, it's not every day that you come across a 10-year-old that is comfortable processing a hog and responsible, primarily responsible for chickens.
Yeah.
That was just very impressive.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
So there you go. How did you do all that?
Let's see. I usually say something like, the responsibilities that they have are more, well, when I was in the service, some of the best men that I worked with were farm kids, and they'd get hassled about being hicks and things like that. I was kind of a suburbia type kid, but I always retreated to the woods. I was always in the woods. I always looked towards like Daniel Boone and Jeremiah Johnson, guys like that. That was what I wanted to do. So I wasn't really interested in the suburbia stuff. And so the kids that could do stuff and could accept responsibility and didn't get freaked out when things got rough, those were the kids I wanted to be like. And they were farm kids. So when Jill and I were getting out of the service, we needed to pick a path that was going to be good for our kids, and farming seemed like the way to go. So they would always have something to do, and more than just making their bed and taking care of their room. Stuff like taking care of that calf. Hey, it's got to be done, and it's a hassle, but you immediately get feedback from that animal right on the spot. You don't really get feedback from making your bed.
Yeah.
Hey, mom says, "Hey, oh, nice job," but that only lasts for like 1 or 2 times.
Yeah.
But
an interesting parallel with RV life. I have Zane help me. My oldest, I have him help with water. Right. We'll set up the water. And if it's not set up right, you're going to get wet,
Or have no water.
There's immediate feedback.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't think about that, but that's an interesting parallel.
On to his interest, he also is helping set up the internet daily now.
True,
each time.
And we find what their interests are, and we try and incorporate it in, but he helps set up the internet.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, he's going to be 13 soon. That's a problem.
Yeah. All right. And you said that it was a life-changing event. Was it because of that, or was it because of the class?
I think it was because of the class as a whole. Just seeing the hogs to start, right? We had those 3. I think we had a couple of red wattles and then a mangalitsa.
Yeah.
And I've never processed an animal before. You know, I've seen it done. I've cut down some primal cuts when we've gotten something bigger from the store, but I've never processed an animal
from beginning to
end. And then getting in, and I had the Mangalitsa. So that was, I remember when I started and I went down and I got in there and I was elbows deep, you know, and I was really getting in there and you were giving me guidance. It was something that I didn't know was missing from my life, you know, understanding where my food comes from. But it filled that gap and it was like, oh yeah, this is something.
When you
important.
came back, you said you didn't realize it wasn't there, but it filled some primal need that you never realized that there was even that hole there.
I didn't even know there was a hole there. Right. Mm-hmm. So, and then going through the whole process and having, you know, organs for lunch and then the collar steak, and then eating everything and then making the sausage, you know, on that last day, and then having all the stuff left and, you know, taking some of it home and then being able to brag to my kids like, hey, see this bacon? I cut that bacon.
Well, you took pride in like, you know, it's a different level of consuming food when you've met the animal, you honored the animal, you processed the animal, and then you've cooked.
Yeah. And just the honor, there was so much care and love and honor that went into the entire process.
So you didn't go to a butcher shop, you went to a literal process. That was the difference.
Yeah, it was. And that was, for me, was life-changing.
He said that if he could make the same income to support our family, he's the only one that has an income. He can make the same income to support our family. He would do that all day long.
All day. Yep. All day long. It's the same reason why I think humans like to sit around a fire.
Yeah.
You know, like it's primal. Foundation. It's something in our genetic makeup where for however many generations we had to process animals to live, right? So it's in our genes. It's in our genes. Yeah. And we as Americans today are just so removed from that in general. So getting back to that awakens something that is just, it's life-changing.
I agree. And I think a lot of people in the audience would agree. Once you fulfill those gaps, the simple things make so much more sense and are so much more fulfilling. Okay. I think I was talking to you this weekend and we were talking about wealth and making a living. And I said that I got everything I need. Absolutely. Everything
like this
I
is
need.
True wealth. Yeah.
And everything else, we just turn it back into the business so we can continue to push this out and bring this tranquility to other people through farming. So I appreciate you putting that into words because they hear me say it all the time.
Look at Dion said here. I don't know.
Oh, you can use that mouse.
Oh, cool. Even easier.
Let's see what.
Hey, Dion.
Good.
Sitting around the fire equals community.
Do you want to look at questions real quick?
Yeah. I don't have my glasses, so you're going to have to step up.
All right.
Question. How do nomads create income for fuel, food, etc. while on the road?
Well, yeah, he still has his.
Yeah, I work.
He works for a financial company.
Yeah, so
that just happened to go.
And we did have to make some changes for us to get there, right? Like that's not what I was doing when we came up with the idea to get on the road. I had to make some career changes and change the path I was on to get to the place where I could be remote.
Yeah, a job that was less.
Yeah. And
office heavy.
Yeah, in our post-pandemic world, there are a lot more remote jobs out there. So if it's something you're interested in doing, just Google remote jobs. You'll find something.
Question about banking across state lines. Not a problem. State IDs have not been a problem. Every now and then our bank will shut down our cards because, again, like before we got here, we had been in 10 states in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So they see purchases everywhere and they're like,
and then they'll lock it down. So you just have to pay attention if you get a message from your bank and be on top of it.
And then your last question, or at least so far, what has been your biggest challenge living this lifestyle?
Oh, man. You got to be flexible.
This is where we started finding when we've been talking to the bakers, there's a lot of correlations of you have to think completely differently when you live on the road and in an RV. And we choose to boondock a lot, which means that we aren't hooked up to electricity. We're not hooked up to water. And so you really have to be resourceful for where you find things. Like we have to know ahead of time, okay, where are we going to fill up on water? We have to make sure we have gas for the generator. It's really changing the mindset, which is also when you're homesteading and farming, you have to be way more resourceful. You have to change your mindset of not doing things the standard way that the rest of culture does. And then
prepping mindset.
I think Dave agreed that on the road, the highs are really high. They're amazing.
Yeah, the highs are high.
And the dips, the lows, when it's hard, it's really hard.
Yeah. You have to be flexible, and you have to do a lot of planning and then be totally okay when those plans just go out the window.
Yeah.
Does that sound the same?
Yeah.
I tell these guys all the time, I'll go to sleep at night thinking, oh, I'm going to do this tomorrow. I can't wait to do this. And I get up in the morning and, oh, your plans have changed.
Yep.
Enjoy it. How do you react to it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Dion said an understanding is something missing that I didn't know.
Yeah, I like that. Food security. Oh man, that's a tough one. So we carry a lot of our food with us. We have a lot of food allergy issues, so we can't just go anywhere. So that's another part of our planning. We have a whole tub of food, of extras like some dry rice and dry beans, just in case.
I always buy a little bit extra, and we have a lot under our bed.
Yeah.
But that is one of the downfalls, I feel like. I wish that we had a bigger stash of food.
Yeah.
And you just can't carry it around. So we kind of consistently buy a lot and have full pantries and fridges just to ensure.
Yeah.
But like we spent a good 6 weeks in Utah, and we did the big 5 national parks. There's a section of that state that has
there's nothing.
Like, I'm like,
Dollar
what
General.
do people eat here? Where do you guys source food unless you're eating the bare minimum of like Dollar General quality food?
Yeah.
Because that's all that it's like the little tiny mom and pop shops that only have processed food, very little fresh. And so we travel with another family typically. And we both went to Costco, and I've never purchased so much Costco in my life, but we bought so much food. We bought the month's worth ahead of time just because I looked ahead and looked at all the lack of grocery stores and said, oh,
well, we found a few places where they had foraged beef available, and we buy some of that. And that's something that we try and keep our eye out on is local
Can I tell you how excited we are to be here?
Yeah, very.
There's plenty of good food sources right here at Baker's Acres. Yeah. We're going to be eating really good this
you will.
Visit.
You sure will.
Yeah. But we've thought about dehydrating also. Or we had a conversation this weekend about freeze drying. That might be something we look into doing.
That was pretty cool.
If Sonia watches this or comes on, she was very enlightening with freeze drying.
Yep.
So I could see where if you have a defeatist mentality, or if you have we were talking about this last night, if you have a austerity mentality, when you get in those tough times, you could be saying, oh, this sucks beyond beyond suckedness. I don't want this. But with an abundance mentality, when that happens, it's almost like you embrace it. Like, oh, this sucks, but embrace it. Let's get through it.
Yeah.
And not everybody that we run into is able to do what you're doing. And I think it's because of that. So your abundance mentality towards this farm has been something that we're looking at and saying, hey, if it were not for these guys right here, there would not be the campground that they're staying in right now. You realize that? I mean, that's how that happened.
Yeah.
And I can tell you when it happened. I mentioned it before. Mike said, well, as I told the crowd before, there was like 4 groups of people in this class, and they were like sitting together, and it's like, you guys know each other. And my son was one of them. And I said to him, what's with these people? You know these people? It's just the way you guys were all talking, And he says, oh, they're nomads too. I said, what do you mean, nomads? Well, they live out on the road and, in RVs and stuff. He lives in a 5th wheel that's next door. And I start watching this crowd. And then I got to talking with Taylor and Sarah.
Yep.
They had been nomads. They were just newly out of the nomad lifestyle. But in that conversation, when you were asking me about raising children, you said, you do know that the next step is the homestead. Something like that.
Yeah. A lot of people that live nomadically, it's just
we'll say a lot of people that we have personally known or acquaintances on social media, when they leave, they go to a homestead. Like I can count on two hands at least the number of people that if they've left RV life, then it's homesteading.
Yeah.
And I think it's because
we're not going back to suburbia.
Oh no, you're after you've lived life this way, you really live it on your own terms. You learn self-sustainability. You want to have your own space. You want to do it your way.
Yeah.
And again, it's so that the next natural progression is like, well, I'm not going back to the suburbs. Like we loved our house in our neighborhood before, but we're not doing that again. Yeah. And so
for one, we can't park an RV there. Come on.
But it's right. So I do feel like this having the campground is a great way for people to kind of come feel out.
Yeah.
What is that homestead all about? How does that farm run there?
That's the main not the main reason, but that's one of the big things why we decided, let's go to Baker's Green Acres. Let's an active farm, people that we know, people that we trust, that are doing it the right way.
Doing the way we would want to.
The way we would want to do it and learn about it and actually put our hands in the dirt and figure this out and see if this is something we want to do before we bought a giant plot of land and figure out, nope, I don't want to farm.
Yeah.
You know?
Because so many people have an idealization of something they want to do. Like we have a wonderful friend who's brilliant and he kind of gets ideas and runs on them without doing in-depth research. Like he really decided he wanted to have a coffee bar because he wanted coffee. And we're like, have you looked at the reality of a coffee? You
never worked at a coffee bar.
He had never been a barista. He had no concept. He just liked the idea.
Yeah.
And to make such a huge decision and an investment in either a homestead or even just deciding to make your quarter acre into a farm, that's still an effort. And we're like, before we do all that, if we have this way to kind of come see real life,
we saw
why would we say no?
Yeah.
As soon as he came back, he's like, hey, Mark said, come to the farm. We're like, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think of everything as assets and liabilities, right? So it's not like you guys are living in an RV because you've got no place else to go. So if you wanted to come stay, it'd be kind of like, well, I don't know. That might turn into a real liability for the farm. But in the situation the no-matter situation, the ones I've met anyway, they seem like a real asset to the farm. So it would be a win-win. It'd be a win for them because they could be involved with the day-to-day operations around here. And it'd be a win for the farm too, because it wouldn't be like dragging somebody around all day. It could be
it's not like a city slicker sort of operation.
No. Sometimes when people want to help, it's like, no, why don't you just sit there and eat your brownie? It'd be better if you don't help. But an intentional living persons like yourselves, I don't think there's much you couldn't do on this place. So it worked out pretty good. And I saw putting in a campground as a way to draw nomads. Yeah. And it's in my best interest to draw them because we teach homesteading classes. If they got a place to stay, they can come and take our classes. So it was a marketing thing for sure. But we both win on it.
Yeah, for
Absolutely.
Sure. I think it's a huge value add to your property.
When I came home, Joe was like, that needs to be the first thing we do. So he straightened me out. Like I had other projects. No, you need to get this done. This needs to happen because this will cash flow the farm.
And it looked really nice this weekend. It was completely full.
Yeah, it was full for farm day. It was cool.
I got some video pictures.
What a thrill. To drive down the road and see all those rigs parked in there. That was just a real thrill for me.
It's cool.
What, 1, 2, 4 or 5 rigs, and then the rest were tent spots. Yeah, it was awesome.
It was really neat.
Oh, see, there's Sonia.
Oh, yeah, Sonia.
Hey.
Yay.
Yep, Off Grid
Cool.
with Dave and Sonia. Good resource.
Okay.
Might even go see them while we're in Michigan.
That's true.
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
That's one cool thing about being on the road and meeting like-minded folks, especially homesteaders, is they usually have some property. And we need places to park.
We
have
like
a big
places
rig.
to park.
So yeah, that's helpful.
Hey, so like just general conversation here, like campfire conversation. We always talk on here about fortifying your position. So let's say you've got a good chicken operation going and you have a little bit of time to do nothing. You could make it better, you know, and it's kind of a military thing. If you're manning a post and nothing's happening, you could fill that one sandbag that would catch the bullet that would kill you. So fortify your position is what we always say. And a lot of times in homesteading, there's a lag in what people are doing because of seasons or lack of money, things like that. And I tell them, hey, you've got resources here that you don't know about. You can fortify this position. So we've got our first weekend with campers on our brand new campground. We've got you here. How could we fortify this position? And I think you mentioned this. You kind of mentioned it. Let's see if you hit it again. If you don't, I'll remind you.
Did I mention this today, or was it like 2 days ago?
How could we fortify this position with the pieces that are on the table right now? We've got the nomad connection. We've got the homestead connection. We've got this channel. We had Tribe Day. We've got the tribe. What's needs to get done here?
I think I can
say leveraging social media more, or
we
can,
part of it.
The network. We need to build the network.
Yeah,
the tribe network.
Yeah, I think other people could do this, right? Other people could do a tribe day. If you have a homestead and in order to teach something, you need to be one step ahead of the guy you're teaching. That is it.
Yeah.
So we just, y'all know, we came in here like we know nothing. Like everybody else that was here this weekend has some land and has at least done something towards it. We come in like newbies, not knowing anything. And what I saw was so much knowledge. Everybody had a wealth of information
had their thing.
On different topics.
Yeah.
And I really do see that even if you consider yourself a small farmer or small homestead, that you could host your own tribe day. Find 2 or 3 other, 4 other farmers in the area that you're friends with, host a day. It doesn't have to be as big as the Baker's Acres one, but it's building the network, getting the word out that, especially in this society where people are starting to realize, oh, food insecurity might be a reality. I might really do, like, maybe I could figure out how to have this vegetable garden. So many more people have chickens.
Backyard chickens.
So they're starting to go there. So if you in your community would host your own tribe day, it doesn't have to be this big 2-day thing. You start where you are, start small, and that's where you spread the message that literally anybody can farm. I mean, we came in here thinking, oh gosh. And I mean, already I'm like, okay, all right, this is more. Yeah, yes, it's hard work.
The rabbit thing, you could.
Yeah, totally watched rabbits being processed. I'm like, I could do that. But I feel like you don't have to be an expert, but yes, anybody in your community, you could host a day of like just letting other people kind of come and ask questions and be that support for them.
Yeah.
And truly spread the anyone can farm message.
Well, and somebody mentioned it around the campfire. I don't remember who it was, but we were talking about, is it anyone with a lot of land can farm, or anyone can farm?
Yeah.
Because
and that makes
it does. Even if you're urban and you can do a rooftop garden, you can do container gardening. Mm-hmm. If you've got a small backyard, you can do a chicken.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a decent sized backyard in suburbia, you can have a small chicken tractor.
Yeah. Rachel, one of the panelists, clearly showed that in her 1/4 acre garden,
she's doing a ton.
Been able to do.
Yeah. And that was really inspiring.
That was Tatum that made a really good point of reframing. And that's what I heard a lot this weekend is you have to change your perspective. You have to reframe things. So if you have an apartment, okay, then do containers.
Yeah.
Or Dave mentioned that he'd had to move homesteads 3 or 4 times, which sounded very hard, but it's always something to do. You can start with herbs. You can start with,
there's something you can do. And anything you can do to make a dent in that food bill.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, rabbits.
People are looking for that.
So easy now.
And not just people that are interested in homesteading, like just people that live.
Yeah. If you were that guy that lived under the bridge, you wouldn't turn down anything.
Yep.
No.
And so, why should we turn down anything that is available to us?
Exactly.
Because we talk a lot about scrounging too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff laying around, and if you have the skills to process that good stuff, like mostly processing animals, there's a lot of animals around. I kid with these guys. I was stationed in Korea for a while, and any GI that's worth his salt and drinks lots of adult beverages has to try dog. So I did. I ate dog, and I don't remember what it tastes like. Probably chicken. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you're a good at processing, I mean, plenty of dogs around, plenty of cats around. If you had to.
Yeah. Worst case scenario.
It seems a little rough, but
yeah,
if you had to, this country's just so wealthy. All right. Well, what I was thinking was if there was some sort of facet of the Anyone Can Farm tribe that we could match nomads up with farms, and like say, let's see who's on here. Inga's on. James Zunwald, he's got to be on. He's always on, but he lives down in Greenbow, Alabama. If I talked with him, I could tell him how we built our campground.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most of it was just mowing the lawn. Mm-hmm. That's really what it was, and then hauling rocks over and building some picnic tables. That's really all it was. But if they learned how to do that, then we could do classes down at his place and stay at his campground.
Yeah,
that is
we
true.
Wouldn't have to do any state campgrounds or anything like that.
Yeah,
that is true.
All right. Well, it's productive. Any parting shots? What did you think of the Tribe Day?
It was great. Just good people, really good people.
It was nice to be with people of like-minded values and goals. What I really loved was a communal feeling of wanting to learn and a willingness to share.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because again, everybody came in with a goal to learn some skills, but a complete willingness to be like, oh, well, I had that problem and I solved it this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nobody was a jerk, right? Like everybody was super nice.
Yeah.
They're very humble. It seemed like everybody there was just willing to do the thing. Yeah. Everybody was a doer.
Yep.
And that was cool.
And we have 4 kids. Our 2 oldest kids attended a lot of the classes, and they
loved it. What was their take on it? They're a little older.
Yeah, they liked it. They had a blast.
I think again, this is the exposure. Like my daughter loved the cheese making and the soap making. They both really loved the tanning, the class. And I think the rabbit processing was very profound for our oldest son.
I think it was impactful
because he had heard
his
story of being at the hog processing, but he saw the entire thing from beginning to end. And like that was the first time he's seen that.
And then we had some rabbit, and he was the whole cycle. He did,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he wasn't shy about it. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to."
Yeah. So these are
like he understood the process.
The city kids. City turned nomadic, so they'd rather play on rocks and with sticks and in the water now than be at a playground, thankfully.
Yeah.
But he seemed very
he was impacted.
He specifically said he loved the ambiance of the weekend. That was his word.
He's 13 going on 30.
So
I can see it.
And it was very welcoming. Like we don't,
time.
Like us knowing nothing, there was no like why are you guys here? It was very welcoming.
There was no ranking system when people came in.
Yeah, not at all.
I think Sonia and Dave, they're not homesteaders at all.
Yeah, that's right.
She has so much information, canning and freeze drying and bartering.
That bartering, that was good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, and again,
that mindset.
She was like a microcosm of like, okay, think of every family that was here, and that represents how many other topics could each person talk about for 20 to 30 minutes. And we all go like, brilliant. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Everybody's got something that they can help and pass on and teach someone else.
And that's why I like that you have this as a tribe, that it's not Mark's team. It's the tribe. Like everybody together will make this happen, and everybody together will forward the message.
Yeah. Like this is community. This
Yeah.
is what people. This is community. This is real.
It allows people to reach their full potential on their own.
Exactly.
And they're not afraid to yell back and say, hey, is this the right way? But it seems like in the austerity mindset, if you ask, hey, is this the right way? They'll all get together and say, yeah, that's the right way. Yeah, keep going. You're almost there.
Yeah. Everybody lifts everybody else up here.
Yeah.
That was, and you could
protect each other.
Yeah.
Actually.
There's something that's not tangible about that. But when you get with a group of people, you can just feel it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
do we fish and hunt for food? We don't. He's going to hunt with Sean Kelly back in Texas. We've gone fishing, but that's very state and city dependent upon licenses. So that kind of gets expensive.
It can,
honestly, if you want to go fishing each
We've done some fishing and gotten licenses in South Dakota, but having to do that everywhere we went would get
and we're not solid enough. We're not good enough fishermen.
Yeah. And if we did go deer hunting, like we wouldn't have anywhere to keep all the meat.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah. Andy says that Alabama's open to nomads, got a full hookup. Nice. Hey, one spot is more than zero.
Yep.
And then, yes, Harvest Host. Susan mentions Harvest Host is kind of like what you're talking about. So there's Harvest Hosts and Boondockers Welcome, which got together. Harvest Host is like a farm experience. They're farms, wineries, museums that will say, hey, we have a spot. But I think the intention is not so much for the exposure of what the farm does and the experience. Sometimes they'll do like tours.
Yeah.
But if your intention
like
is
commercial
more
operation of it,
come check out how homesteading is, the
it's a little bit different.
But you could still even just join into that network first. Sonia and Dave said that they are part of Boondockers Welcome.
Okay.
So Boondockers Welcome is more it's a not business typically that says we have space, and then it lets people come in. But again, it's the intent that is different.
Sonia just
I'm wondering if that's Susan Dennis, saying Susan D there.
Susan D.
Is that you, Loney? Her name used to be Loney. Now she married one of my countrymen. Come on up to the UP. Hey, Ben, you got the space.
Yeah.
You've got the space.
We like the UP. We came down through the UP.
Yeah.
So.
Are you heading back that way?
No, we're gonna go south. We might hit up Traverse City and some friends in that area, maybe. But
or Sonia.
Yeah, or
Sonia
Sonia.
and Dave.
Yeah,
okay.
They're in the thumb.
I know that much.
That would be. See, that would be. I think that would really be neat to have a listing where people in the tribe could go and just stay on other farms.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good way. I mean, that's a win-win.
It'd be mutually beneficial.
It would be mutually beneficial.
If you could learn from each other's skill sets.
And if me and Jill went and stayed at Andy's, we'd bring skills to him and
vice versa.
Yeah.
We almost stopped there on our way back from Texas. We thought, let's just swing down to Alabama and see this guy. Andy's one of my comrades from the Air Force.
Nice.
Although I didn't actually serve with him. I think we were probably in at the same time. Yeah, we were. But he came here and took a class.
Cool.
Nice.
Arkansas is an area
at least one RV in
maybe
my
get
place.
Land. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we'll close, but I just want to ask this question. All right. So if homesteading is the next stop, what is your next stop? What state are you going to pick?
Oh.
Man,
that's going to be a tough one, huh?
We're looking. There's a lot out there.
There's a lot out there. Dave gave us. I don't know if he's watching at the moment, but Dave put out some really good parameters of what they look for when they find a homestead. That was really helpful to us.
Good.
So,
Dave and Sonia.
No, Dave from Indiana.
Yeah. He had beard guy.
Dave Allen.
Allen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dave Allen. Yeah.
So we're at the point of we're just going to start looking to be familiar with the market, kind of see where things are, and just be ready and open if the right opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a time frame?
No. That's one good thing about being on the road. Right.
You'll know when you know, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And then that way we're not pressed into something.
And I have to say, like, if we had told the kids, hey, we want to go settle down on a farm, they might have been like, nah.
Before
But
this weekend.
now, after this
Yeah.
weekend, and we keep telling them,
Yeah.
you saw a lot of fun this weekend. This week
It's
you're
a lot
going to
of work.
see, you know,
The
the next,
work.
you're going to see the hard work. But they're like, yeah, okay,
Yeah, they're
we
down.
can do a farm because
Yeah.
now they've seen it.
Now they're telling us
versus-
what they want in the farm that we eventually build. That's what they're.
Oh,
That's where
okay.
they are now. So.
What are they telling you that they want?
Well, Ellie, one of my daughters, said she definitely wants to make cheese, so she's gonna have to figure out milk. You
Yeah.
know, so we're gonna need some dairy cows.
That requires cows.
Yeah, exactly.
And you got to see some of that this weekend. Too.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. The reality.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
Can't
real
be more
interesting.
grateful. That's
You know what could happen is the world could come to an end, and you might get stuck here.
yeah,
So
That's okay.
you need
Dang.
some good help.
yeah.
just put us to work.
All right. Well, this went pretty smooth. This was really impromptu, but this is the format that Joe wants us to do. He wants us to have more interviews, and I like it. To be honest with you, I like to hear what other people are doing and different attitudes about our life in general.
Yeah.
In these here United States.
You know, I mentioned to Mike, I liked your humility in admitting when you didn't know something. Like over the weekend, I'd ask you questions, you'd be like, I don't know. And
Did I say it like that, or did I just say, "Well, I don't know"?
Yeah, exactly.
yes,
You,
but
you know yourself.
there's so many people in the
That's a big deal.
world that don't know how to say I don't know, that it's refreshing to come across like, no, I don't know. And then we'll go find the answer somewhere.
Mm.
That's growth. Like that's the only way that you grow is admitting, I don't know. Now let's figure it out. And that's
Yeah.
probably part of this
Yeah.
community's mindset
Yeah.
that's just sadly lacking in the rest
It's
of
a
the world.
growth mindset.
I had to eat some crow this weekend for sure. I really did, because when we brought Moon up, Joe brought her up, I said to Dion, she looks okay to me. I don't see it. Do you see it? And I think I was kind of implying that there was nothing wrong with her. And then the next day she was down.
Yeah.
So I really had to say, okay, you need to listen to the people that know. And Joe Higgins knew just from looking at her. I just did not see it. And I've been around that cow for 5 years now.
Yeah.
And I've been around cows in general for 20 years. And I did not see that coming. And, you know, the piece de resistance was yesterday when she was out flat, and we had to make a decision on her. So, yeah, it was, yeah. But as I told the audience last night, I want to reinforce this. The abundance mindset helped me through that, because there were people at the tribe that got to see that.
Yeah.
And you can read about it, but when you get to see it, you know, you can, obviously my kids love that cow. I loved her. I'll tell you, I loved her. I think she loved me, actually.
I got some good shots of you and her and the calf.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll send them over to you.
Yeah.
You know, yesterday in the morning when I went out, I was anticipating that she would be up and someplace else. And she was flat like that. And I could just see from the wrinkles in her neck that and then I went over, I tried to pull her head up, but she just, no, leave me. And so I laid up against her for a while and just tried to figure out what to do. And it turned out okay. I mean, it was painful, but the birth of the calf was joyous. So I embraced that, but I embraced the pain as well.
Yeah. That's real life, man.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't always able to do this. I would have just been a spoiled little rotten brat throwing things around in my younger life. Like, why me?
It's growth.
But no, it was okay. It turned out all right.
Yeah.
We worked through it. So
It was
excellent.
it was a real life lesson for our kids too.
Yeah.
Last night, somehow our oldest daughter didn't hear the result, and so we were praying, and she's like, "Oh, we need to pray for Moon," and we're like, "Oh, honey," and so we explained, and I mean, it was just this full circle of like this, you know, and on a farm. What did you say? Every animal is either going to get sold or is going to die.
Yeah.
That's the harsh
Eventually,
reality
that
in
would
long
have
term.
happened.
And so
We don't eat the dogs usually. But Eventually,
well,
that
you
Yeah.
were saying once one of your kids asked, like, when are we going to butcher the dog?
Yeah. Yeah, the explanation was that eventually, all the animals go through, and when I forget who it was. I think maybe it was Rusty. Well, when are we going to eat Rusty? Oh no, we don't eat dogs. Well, I thought Dad did. Something like that. There's all kinds of folklore around this mindset. So anyway, really good. I'm sure that there's going to be big ripples on the pond after this one. And I thank you for sharing with my audience, because I think that they'll find this
I hope so.
interesting too. And I would just like to say to y'all, now is the time to put the pedal to the metal and live that life that you want to live. Because you're seeing some people here that are doing it.
Do it.
Yep.
All right.
Don't talk about it. Do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. It's Mark from Baker's Green Acres. Remember, anyone can farm. Good night. We'll see you Thursday.